Well, it's the first week of March, and before the Michigan season closed, Parsons and I decided to run up to a lake called Gogebic up in the UP of Michigan. While we got up here, we were looking for some walleye and maybe some jumbo perch that they're known for up here. And quite frankly, the first day didn't go as planned. We caught a lot of walleyes, but they were all little, couple decent ones. So we started to think about heading home, and we hate to be quitters. Well, thankfully, we ran into a guy that we know, fellow ICE team member, Jon Sibley. And Jon said to us, hey, you know, if you want to go out and get some perch, I know a pretty good area full of wigglers out there, and that's what the fish key on here. So not wanting to be quitters, Parsons and I headed out this morning. So we're not going to be going for fish with teeth. We're going to be going to their close cousins, the perch. We're going to do some dead rod fishing. We're going to use our jig rods. We're going to show you how to get the next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, just looking for the next bite.
We'll continue to show you the next bite.
Lake Gogebic is known as a walleye factory, and it's quickly become one of Gary Parsons' favorite fisheries, not only for open water, but also for ice fishing. It isn't just the convenience of the year-round lodging or well-stocked bait shops that sit right on the lake. It's more that for anglers who are willing to put in the time to break down Gogebic's long and featureless flat bottom, giant rewards are to be had. Not only with walleyes, but also with their close cousin, the yellow perch.
This is an amazing fishery. I mean, 13-inch male, and it's kind of a routine fish right now here. It's unbelievable.
This is something fellow ICE team member Jon Sibley can truly attest to.
Look at the girth on this perch. It's giant, beautiful Lake Gogebic perch. Kind of average perch here in this lake. We're here in the upper Michigan, Gogebic County on Lake Gogebic, catching jumbo perch.
After countless hours of guiding professionally on this ice, grinding out a unique presentation that carries some serious weight.
Morning. Morning.
Hey, John.
How's it going?
How you doing, man?
Good.
Good to see you.
Ready to go? Yep, let's do it.
Averaging 2 pounds of fish, which to most of us is a catch of a lifetime. However, in the case of Gogebic, this bite starts with what these monster perch are used to munching on, which is a familiar lake larvae with a face only a mother could love.
Hey, Tim, I think we'll take 4 packs of the wax worms here. Get a couple of those.
How about some of them wigglers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some
I'd
wigglers
say
here.
we'll take 4 of those, too.
We got our prepackaged wigglers, 36 in a pack, and a preservative.
I mean, what are they even?
These are bugs that hatch out of the mud, and during the summer months, they'll turn into our mayflies.
They're sure ugly.
Look at them bad boys right there. Yummy, huh?
Yeah, look like they'd be pretty good for breakfast, I think.
If Mano was
But
here,
the
we would
perch
give
really
him
like these.
breakfast.
Jon Sibley may be a man of few words, but actions speak louder than words.
My favorite depth in the flats that I do fish is 24 feet. Seems to be, works for me. I don't know why or whatever the reason, but it seems to hold the most fish. Lake Gogebic's a giant flat.
It's like a big bowl.
You just have to keep moving, run and gun out here until you find them. And the bad thing about this lake is the conditions are so hard to get around that's tough sometimes, but you just gotta fight it out and move.
So the moral of the story is when you're perch fishing, you need to drill a lot of holes. You need to have some patience because you gotta wait some of these fish out a little bit, but move around. Once you get into an area, stick with it.
Oh, here comes one up to number 2. He's going back down. Back to 1. Here he is. I got him. He actually looked like he was going for the little bit higher jig. Went down and just whacked this one. Well, not whacked it, but boom. Feels like a good one. This is just wild here. That little spring bobber for these monstrous big perch. that little spring bobber, just barely. Boop. They're just sucking in those wigglers. Oh boy, here we go. Down to the bottom. Coming back up. 22 feet only. Here he goes back down again. A little bit up again. Here we go. Here's my swivel. There's the first jig. Just gotta get that first jig through the hole. There that is. Come on now. Oh, he's stuck a little. Oh, here he. Oh man, look at the size of that one. Holy man, has he been eating bugs. Look at the belly on that thing. Went down and hit that lower jig right in the nose where it should be. Just perfect. I tell you what, he's so big I'm gonna actually let him go. Man, that's just a trophy perch there. You just don't see footballs like that, just with the massive guts on them. And it isn't just because he's been eating today. He's been eating like that for a long time to get a gut like that. Well, let's get her back down here. I think she'll be all right. Took her up nice and slow. There she goes. Beautiful.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury, #1 on the water. Amsoil, performance for serious adventure. Tracker Boats, fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Berkeley, catch more fish. Mustad, stay sharper longer. Lowrance, find, navigate, dominate. Motor Guide trolling motors engineered for anglers. Strike King, legacy of domination for 50 years. And Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Walleye and yellow perch share a close relationship.
Oh, he's going for the dead stick.
Not only in the fact that they are members of the same family, actually known as perch,
Yep, I like these late spring bobbers.
but also in that they favor similar underwater environments.
This is a pretty good fish too. Oh no, that was the second one. Came to the bottom. It's a walleye. Here there were two fish there, and this one went right by the spoon. At least I thought it was this fish. Went right by the spoon, and I thought he hit the top jig, but it was the bottom one that hit it. So the walleye that I was thinking was going to bust it really wasn't, or the fish that I thought was going to bust it didn't even get it. It was the one that was sitting there I thought that wasn't interested came and busted this one. I'm here out in the deeper water trying to get perch and got a nice walleye.
Although Lake Gogebic isn't as large as, say, Minnesota's Mille Lacs Lake, which comes in at 207 square miles, it's still plenty capable of producing equally monster perch.
Printing a couple on the graft. Seems like they're coming in schools. All right, we're hooked up. Feels like a pretty good fish.
In less total area at 20.7 square miles, roughly 1/10 the size of Mille Lacs, but less area isn't necessarily easier to fish.
Nice male.
So not only knowing where to look, but especially what to look for on the graph is crucial, since Gary, John, and Keith are using a combination of jigging rod with a spoon, plus 2 dead sticks with 4 jigs between them as their presentation.
Hey, I tell you what, while I've got my other 2 lines in here and my jig rod out, let's take a look at the graph here. I'll show you how cool this looks fishing for these perch. I mean, it's almost like a video game. So what we've got on the graph here is I've got it in split screen mode. On this half over here, what I've got is the full water column. That way, if a fish comes in high, you'll be able to see him and reel up to him and maybe jig him in. But over on this side, we've got a zoomed in 4x zoom. Down here, we've got the bottom. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of lines stagnantly going across the screen, and what those are from is those jigs that are on my dead rods. So on my right hand rod I've got line 1 and then line 3, and on my left hand rod I've got line 2 and line 4. Sometimes the fish will just kind of fade up from the bottom and kind of hang around a line. Then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll tap that spring bobber to give that jig a little action and try and trigger that bite. But other times the fish will just kind of roar right in and come right up to the lure. Don't do anything. They're hot, they're aggressive, they're probably going to hit it. But you can actually watch and see how aggressive those fish are and help you have a lot more fun out here fishing. Oh, look here. Here's a fish. He's coming up. 1, 2, 3, all the way to this one over here. 4, he's right there. Here he is. Oh, I got him. Now that's the way you do a tip right there. Cue the fish. Look at the size of this thing. This is actually our acting fish. You know, you cued just right, came up hot and heavy, bit the top lure. And that's how you do it here on Lake Gogebic.
The Real Deal, real fishing information from real fishing experts, presented by AmSoil.
This Nitro ZV21 is just a tremendous all-purpose fishing boat, big water boat, big boat. Specifically for muskie fishing, it's awesome because of that amount of room. You've got a tremendous amount of width and deck space everywhere. I've also got floor space where I can put my big tackle boxes. Muskie guys have got a tremendous amount of gear, and speaking of gear, we have a lot of rods and we use long rods, so we've got this big center storage. You can actually get 8'6" rods in there. I can get 10 different rods in there. Now on the front deck here, you've got a tremendous amount of room. You can actually cast 2 anglers up on the front deck. But one thing that I did this year, you can order these boats without that passenger console, which is really nice. Provides an extra amount of room in here. And then the other thing is you're able to move back and forth at the side of the boat. Now, muskies a lot of times are going to hit right by the side of the boat. Obviously, they're real big fish, and a lot of times they'll take you for a walk. So if you get that strike here, you can move right on down. If you're in the back of the boat, you're able to move right on up, possibly to the front of the boat, and even take that fish around the bow of the boat if you absolutely need to. It also allows you to fish 4 anglers off the same side of the boat. So it's a little bit to give up. It's a cold day right now, and it's nice to have that console on the passenger side for when you're driving. But specifically for muskie anglers, I recommend trying this boat without the passenger console, taking advantage of all that extra room.
Even though Keith, Gary, and John are catching monster perch, the signs are still as light on the bite indicators as with any regular pan fish.
We're hooked up live. This is a giant. This is a big fish.
As are the methods for enticing them to bite. Targeting wiggler beds and depths between 20 and 25 feet is not a fast and furious pattern.
Yeah, we're in them today.
But the odds of catching a trophy-sized perch are proving to be well above average.
That's a nice Lake Gogebic perch. Yeah, look at the girth on this perch. It's just giant. The bite's picking up here this afternoon, getting a few more. It's got a nice girth on it. Kind of average perch here in this lake. Pretty decent ones in here. Guess we'll get back to fishing.
Keeping this array of rods, jigs, and spoons spread evenly in the water column is important for increasing your odds. But going big on this jigging and dead stick rod combo presentation,
Look at the pretty orange fins on that one.
is church all the way down to the bait on the hooks.
You just pummel that spoon. We're going to talk a little bit about the equipment for this perch fishing. One of the perch presentations is using a small spoon. I'm using 2-pound test fluorocarbon, trilene 100% fluorocarbon line here also, and then an ultralight rod from Dave Gentz. It's a typical panfish setup. Maybe even a little bit on the light side for these big perch. The one thing that we want to show you is how to hook up the baits. The one thing that you want to do here is load up all 3 trebles. So I'm going to grab one of the little wigglers right here. I've been using a smaller one at first, and then on one of the trebles right between the legs I hook the wiggler. Kind of hangs down like so. And then on the other one, I will try to find one of the bigger, more active wigglers. Let's see if I can pick one that's pretty active. Here we go. And I hook that one right in the tail. I kind of go on the underbelly of the tail and I hook it up. Pretty straightforward. So it's just hanging. Now that one will actually swim as it's sitting still. And then on the 3rd treble, John was actually the one who kind of turned us on to this. And you really load it up because these perch are pretty good sized, and in a lot of perch lakes you won't use this much stuff, but I'll grab a waxy, and then on the 3rd treble I just put a waxy. So when it's all said and done, you've got a lot of stuff hanging off that little spoon. Now the one thing that you want to do for these Gogebic perch is you don't want to move a spoon too much. You know, I'm using real gentle movements. If the fish comes in, I might raise it, but I actually very, very gently will hold it. And normally then that spring bob will go bonk and you've got them. So it's a pretty cool way to fish, and it works very effectively. The other setup that we use is the dead stick setup. And I've got actually 2 identical jigs. They're just small panfish jigs, maybe a little bit on the larger side. What we do on the top jig is we just put a cinch knot and cinch it right into the line. For you bass fishermen, a little bit like drop shotting in a way. And then on the bottom, we just basically hang the 2nd jig And we load them both up. I actually use 2 wigglers per each jig. I'll hook one underneath the front by the legs, just like I showed you before, and then I hook the other one to swim. And this rod sits and is almost motionless. If a fish comes in, I might tap the rod a little bit. It's usually sitting in the rod holder, and you totally watch the spring bobber. If the spring bobber moves at all, then you're gonna end up setting the hook.
1, 2. Should be on that one right there. Just the littlest bob. Came right past the first line to the second line. Oh boy, is he fighting good. Right down to the hole again. Haven't even reeled yet. Oh, it could be a walleye, I guess. Whatever it is, it's pretty decent sized. Came in like a perch though, kind of just cruised right in. Went right past number 1, which had been that rod, over here to number 2, and boop. Gotta kind of keep it centered in the hole. There's the first jig. Oh yeah, nice fish. That's a good fish. Big old Lake Gogebic perch there. It's almost like a video game down there. You gotta watch all your lines down there. Try and figure out which rod it's after, and then just watch the spring bobber. That's fun. All right, buddy, we're gonna let you go right back down here.
Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
So one word for this new Mercury 115 4-stroke. Wow. You know, over my career, I've got to run a lot of different boats, a lot of different engines. A lot of them have been set up for big-time performance. My tournament boats run 300-horse engines on them. But I've also run a lot of these smaller boats. This is a little 17-foot aluminum boat, and I've never had an engine perform as well as this 115 on this particular model boat. So what do I look for when I'm out running these boats and trying them out and testing them? First thing is hole shot. Hole shot not only gets you up on plane, but that's also a real good indication of how good the boat is going to be out in rough water. When that engine can accelerate quickly, you can start reading the waves, accelerate, decelerate quickly, and actually run waves a lot better. Next thing I look at, top end speed. Now again, I've run this boat, this particular model, a lot of times. I see, you know, low 40s for top end speed. With this particular engine, I was getting 48. I even saw 50 miles an hour once. So that's unbelievably fast for this size 17-foot boat. Last thing is, I like a quiet engine, and that's what 4-stroke is going to give you. This one seems particularly quiet, and the reason I like that quiet is because a lot of times I'm searching for fish. I don't want to spook them. So it's got all of the stuff that I would want. Good low end torque, the good high-end speed, the quietness. So again, wow. First impression, this is an unbelievably great engine. I can hardly wait to run it a lot more.
It's obvious that Lake Gogebic has some amazing all-around genetics when it comes to yellow perch.
Look at this fish how, and it's not gutty, it's like long all the way back, real wide like that. That's what adds the weight real quick.
A fact that can easily be overshadowed by just how big they can actually get at the upper end of the register. Yet, even if these perch are freaks of nature, it only adds another feather in the cap for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and how special of a fishery Lake Gogebic is year-round, making its lack of structure and contours which present a challenge for locating fish part of its mystique, which is why Keith Cavias, Jon Sibley, and Gary Parsons
Tease him up. Come on, buddy. There he is.
have been careful to demonstrate how to use a total coverage approach to fishing the Gogebic jumbo perch once they have been located.
And just take him nice and slow. Oh, he's got some weight to him. He's good enough. I'm gonna have to get that transducer out of there. Oh, come on, buddy. Oh man, lucky I didn't lose him. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh yeah, is that a big perch? Holy man! Oh, holy man! Look at the size of that perch. He's enormous. Oh, this fish has got to be 15 inches. And what it looks like a smallmouth bass. I can't even open his mouth. He's stronger than I am. Oh, look at this fish. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable fishery. Well, I don't want to harm this baby. I'm going to let her go. What a gorgeous fish. Oh, come on. Come on, Mama. There she goes. Come on. Paddle, paddle, paddle. Oh, man, this is what it's all about. There are so few places to get perch like this. In fact, this might be the premier trophy perch lake. And it's a tough lake. It's not easy to fish. Normally, you don't get a ton of fish. I've been here so many times in the past. It's just like trophy buck hunting. You wouldn't think that with panfish, but I don't view these as panfish. I view these as freaks of nature, and they are so much fun to catch.
Yeah, the things I won't do for the next bite and a wiggler. Why? I'm so good. I am so good. This is a monster. This is a monster. Look at the size of that thing. It's got great turning and, you know, just turning.
The next bite would like to thank Jon Sibley and the Timbers Resort on beautiful Lake Gogebic, a resort destination for all seasons nestled in the heart of some of the best fishing, hunting, and outdoor recreation that the UP of Michigan has to offer. Find out more at thetimbersresort.com.